In this interview, I asked Arla what I felt were more in-depth questions about her understanding of the hairy people. She has told of her early experiences many times in previous interviews. Some topics I ask about are camping, being out there alone, suggestions about Sasquatch experiences, her experience with the love that surpasses all understanding, fear, and Dogmen. Well, so we're live, and I'm here with Arla. Do you go by Colett Williams?
Yeah, Colett. It's Arla Colett on Facebook, but my legal name and my book and everything else, the books are under Arla Colett Williams.
Okay. Well, what I have is a quick intro about you and then a number of questions, and we'll just see where it goes from there.
Okay.
All right. I've listened to Arla share some of her experiences on YouTube, etc., on shows like Pork and Beans. At age 6, she was playing outside her home when she heard a noise and looked up to find a juvenile male Sasquatch watching her play in the dirt. She ran to her Cherokee grandmother and told her what she had seen. Whereupon this wise grandmother, on Arla's asking, "What was it, grandmother?" answered, "What do you think it was?" This simple act of allowing a child to think it out for herself before having it explained to her ignited a love and a passion for these intelligent beings that is still alive today. I was inspired to reach out to her when I saw that she has solo camped and also has some similar recordings as I have. Arla has had experiences with Sasquatch for numerous decades. There are many interviews out there, and you can find them by searching for Arla Colett Williams. She has also written a book titled My Life with the Hairy People. In her book, Arla wrote about her experiences with Sasquatch over the years. Arla also has a YouTube channel and hasn't posted in a while, but does plan to begin posting videos again. And that's the intro.
Okay.
Are you cool? Are you cool with that intro?
The only thing my grandmother always told me, no, leave it. If somebody comes, I don't have a CDIB, and there's a big long story of something that happened to me, and I'll talk to you about it sometime.
Sure.
But she told me from the first time of my remembrance that we carried Cherokee blood. But she also told me that if I were to ever disrespect any of my blood, which I have several different kinds as far as my lineage is concerned,
Yep.
that I would disrespect all of it. And so, it's good. Leave it in there.
Okay, I actually extracted it from the Amazon book page.
Yes. Yeah. And that's fine. It's in the book. So, she didn't teach me about them as far as it being the Cherokee way.
Okay.
Number one, you could ask 10 different Cherokee about them, and you'd probably get 10 different ideas of what they are. And, there are Cherokee stories that speak about them.
Okay.
But, she taught me from her experience with them, not something she was taught because of a tribal affiliation.
Understood. Well, that's great to know, and I've come to regard any indigenous knowledge as very sacred, very protected. I've definitely gathered how they're very almost secretive about their knowledge.
Yeah, it was something that after the Europeans came, they guarded a lot of their things because they were told they couldn't believe like that. That
Wow.
that was wrong. That was demonic and, of Satan and all of these other things. And so a lot of their beliefs that were open became closed.
Okay. Wow.
And it's a lot better now. The tribes here in Oklahoma uh, pretty much share a lot. I mean, there's some things they're not going to share, but they wouldn't just share openly with other Cherokee people either. Some of the medicine things, but it's um, it's better
Okay.
than than it than it was for a long time. A lot of things are better actually than
Good.
they were for a lot of people, and hopefully
Good.
they'll just continue to get better.
All right. I guess so. We'll leave that in, and I think that clarification's kind of good to leave in there as well, just for anyone that might see this. And
Yeah.
I hope you agree.
Well, I don't know. A while back, I was on She Squatchers radio,
Hmm.
and one of the girls asked me, she said, "Don't you think that if you have native blood in you, your chances are better at having a relationship with them?" And I said,
Mm.
"No." She did not expect me to say that. I said, "No, it doesn't matter who you are or what your blood is. What matters is your level of respect and your heart."
Okay.
So that has nothing to do with whether they're going to interact with you or not. Um, there's a lot of Indian people who think they're demons.
Okay.
So it it just that's not a factor in this. I mean, our relationship with them is past that. One of the things we can thank Indigenous people from around the world is keeping the stories,
Okay. All right.
because they've kept the stories of the Sasquatch or whatever that particular area calls them.
Gotcha. What a topic. That whole wow.
I know it's so layered. I
Man.
mean, but it's about everything in life.
Right. Good point. Yes. All right. Well, I guess I'll begin. And what I sort of did is I know that there's a lot of interviews about you out there, or with you, and you've covered sort of the beginning extensively with, and so I've kind of just some things that I just am genuinely curious what your thoughts are, really,
Okay.
and anything you don't want to answer, whatever, we'll just skip it over. All right. So here's the first one. I'll just read it to you, and all right. There's a couple seconds between each one. Just okay. The first question is, what would you say the Sasquatch would like for us to tell people about them?
Mm. Oh my goodness. My grandmother said they're another us. They are like
Wow.
us in ways, and they are not like us in ways. And they want us to see is truly who we are. And we are such a wondrous species.
Mm,
And we are a species that was brought in love.
okay.
And so, what they want us to do is to see inside our own heart and see who we are. And they definitely help us do that.
Wow. Beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So just the video thing will pop up with each question. I think it'll, yeah, okay. Just will play them automatically. I haven't done this too much. Um, what have you learned about them as a people?
Oh my goodness.
General question, I guess, but
I have a long time of learning about them. Um, they are so benevolent
Mm.
in so many ways and just continue to care about us and who we are and how we are.
Wow.
You know, they're earth keepers and they love this earth and they hope that they can help us to see that once again within ourselves that we are all related. Everything is related.
Wow.
And it's, you know, that's such an important thing to let everybody know that we're all related. We're related to everything on this earth.
Mm.
It's all family. It's not things, it's family.
Okay. Well, I love that. All right. The next one. Okay. I was particularly interested in this. How did you end up starting to solo camp?
I've always loved being in the woods by myself.
Mm.
From the time I was a little girl, um, it was a constant thing for them to keep up with me. When I was very, very young, um, just wanting to be out in the woods, and I loved being by myself because I was never by myself. There were always so many wondrous things in the woods. I mean,
Mm.
there's always someone around. No, no, maybe not a human, but there's something around, be it, you know, the Sasquatch or the Dogmen or the fairies or the little people or any of those that live there in the woods. And I was always the happiest when I was interacting with them.
Mm.
And I had to be alone most of the time for
Okay.
that to happen. And so from the
Okay.
time I was little, I loved being in the woods by myself.
Wow.
Uh, you know, when I got uh, my first tent, it was not much of a tent, but I loved it so. And I stayed in it as much as I could. I've never been afraid to be by myself in the woods. So
Wow.
it was, you know, just that thing that I loved to be out there. I loved how it felt. I felt like I was at home, you know, and to this day, I'm in my tent every every chance I get.
Wow.
And
That is
so
so cool.
my tent's up permanently.
Really?
And so I'm pretty much in it most every night. There for a while, back in 2014, I lived in a tent. Um, I had moved.
That-
I had moved from where I was at that time, not far, but I had moved. I had decided that I was going to get a key and put it on this land. And I uh, wanted to be there then early. And so I put my tent up and I stayed in it then from, oh my gosh, it was up over a year. And I've got pictures of it with
wow.
snow on it. And, you know, it was
So
home.
cool.
It was
So
home.
cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm not made to live in a house at all. I would
Hmm.
rather be outside doing something. And I've all told the kids that if I get to the point that I'm incapacitated and I can't take care of myself any longer, then I want our big tent put up and I want to be in it.
Wow.
I do not want to stay in a house. Um, when it's
Wow.
time for me to go.
Wow. That's amazing. Okay. All right. I love that. Here is the next one. I think you answered this. Were you afraid camping solo?
No, I've never been afraid uh, at all to
Wow.
camp solo. I'm not afraid of anything that's out there. I'm
Okay.
not, you know, I'm smart about what I do when I'm out there. If I'm in an area where there are bears or other things, I'm smart about what I do. But as far as being afraid that something is going to happen to me, more than likely, the only thing that would happen to me was if a human came into the area with the intent to do something. Uh,
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
so I'm much better out solo camping than I would be staying in the van in a city.
Wow. Okay. This is unique. I love it. Okay. Next question. You sort of answered that. How do you feel in general while out alone?
Yeah.
So I'll skip that one.
All right.
And do you have any suggestions for someone considering the same solo camping? Obviously, with this in mind as well, I was thinking I didn't mention that, but with Sasquatch in mind, or
Hmm.
just a lot of people are afraid of it.
Well, fear creates a whole lot of things. And fear and our imagination can put us in space that is really, really hard on us.
Mm-hmm.
I hear noises and things when I'm in the tent. Sometimes I don't know what those noises are. I don't look out to see what it is, but I don't immediately go to, oh my gosh, it's some monster that's going to come and, tear through my tent and take me off. Number
Yep.
one, I'd probably talk him out of it because I'm just prone to talk to everything that's out there. But be wise when you go out, and more so probably for women. I guess I've never felt like I would be targeted because I was a woman. But be wise. If you go out and you get really afraid, talk to yourself about what it is you're feeling. If you think that there's something out there, just
Mm.
talk to it and talk out loud.
Okay.
And if you get to the point that you just can't handle the fear, then leave.
Okay.
If you have to go get in your car and leave your tent, do so. Don't
Okay.
put yourself continually in that space of that fear and the imagination and everything else just
Mm.
getting out of control, because then you can get hurt. You
Okay.
can, hurt yourself in various ways of coming out of your tent, getting lost, all kinds of things.
Okay.
But the best way to tent camp solo is to do it in a park where other people are going to be around you. A
Mm.
gathering, if you go to a gathering that somebody's having out in the woods or something, uh, put your tent a little away from everybody, but close enough where you can hear them,
Mm.
and stay in your tent alone.
Okay.
And, you can work up to doing it. I've got several
Mm.
female friends that I've been on the phone with them when they've been in their tent alone, when
Mm.
they were trying to uh, keep the courage to be there and to talk through things. I've got some male friends that I've done the same thing with. Um, and I always tell people that I'm working with or friends, I'm just a phone call away. If you've got cell service and you get afraid or something else, you call me. I don't care what time of day or night it is.
Mm.
I'm going to be here to help support you.
Okay.
I I've got some very special women friends who got through that initial phase of being afraid.
Mm.
One of them, she wouldn't even go in her tent. She stayed right by that fire and kept that fire going all night long. Uh, but they got
Mm.
through it.
Mm.
And so, it becomes a process. It's like anything. Maybe the first time you do it, well, I didn't do that very good. And you continue. And more and
Mm.
more and more. And those girls now, many of them say, I rather camp solo. I
Wow.
would rather be in this with myself. Uh, it seems like they have so many things happen when they're out by
Mm.
themselves that maybe they don't necessarily pick up on when there are other people around.
Mm.
But the number one is if you get out and you get afraid or you hear something and you don't know what it is and it's just more than you can handle, just leave.
Okay.
Just get up and leave.
All
And
right.
I had one friend that she would talk out loud until she would just literally wear herself out and fall asleep
Okay.
because she felt like when she was talking, she had a measure of control over what was going on.
Wow. Okay.
So,
That reminds me of I interviewed Brother Littlefoot, and he suggested, kind of reminds me of this a little, bringing a harmonica.
yeah,
He what he said was it'll scare, at least as far as he knows, bears and big things, but then the Sasquatch like it if you play it, is what he said. So
yeah.
pretty
You know,
cool.
I any kind of music is awesome, and the reason that they are drawn to us either singing or drumming or playing a harmonica or playing music or whatever is because we are enjoying ourselves when we're doing that.
Okay.
And that always seems to help too. You're actively making noise. If I think I hear a bear and they're pretty close, oh yeah, I start clapping and I halt.
Okay.
And then, I just tell them, go, get away from here, get out of here. And we do have bears here in Oklahoma.
Okay.
So, you've got to be careful. We also have mountain lions here.
Mm.
So, just be smart with
Yeah.
what you do.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. Next one. I don't remember what they are either, so we're both in for a surprise. Okay. Um, what do you suggest for someone who is interested in experiencing the Sasquatch?
I don't know how many people I've told this or how many times I have said this. If you want this experience, then put yourself in a place where you think they have been, there have been sightings, or anywhere in the woods that you would like to go. And go and be respectful. Uh,
Okay.
Open your mind and your heart as to what's the possibility of what you're going to see. And anytime we go into their area in a respectful manner, um, it's always a plus for it. Can I guarantee that you're going to have some type of interaction? Not really. But of all the people that I've worked with through the years that have started this, they'll tell you when they shifted their paradigm and did that, things started happening. And
Okay.
they began to, and it may start with tree knocks from them, or you may hear some howls, or stick snap, or little rocks being thrown, or whatever. And they're going to help you by not being too forward. They're going to do things in a gentle manner. Now, some people would think that stick throwing and rock throwing is not a gentle way, but it is, because they're not hitting you. If they wanted to hit you, they would. It would be that simple. If they wanted to get you, they would.
Wow.
No locked door, no nothing could stop them, but they don't.
Wow.
You know,
Mm.
they honor what it is you feel, and so they're going to be as gentle as you need them to be.
Wow.
You
I
know,
have to
just
say that really aligns with what I experienced just in my perception.
hmm
Wow.
yeah. It's everything's about respect. Everything is about going at something with an open mind and an open heart. When you do that, it's so much easier to understand. I tell people they're big, they're hairy, and they are loud.
Okay.
And
Mm.
they look like us, but they have other look too. So,
Mm-hmm.
don't just go into the woods and think that you can just do anything you want to do. Now it depends on what kind of interaction you want. If all you want to do is go out in the woods and get audios of whoops and stick snaps and all of those things, then that's probably what you're going to get, and that'll be all you get.
Okay.
So you have to make the decision yourself. What is it I want from this relationship? Yeah, I want to learn about them, but what is it that I really want from this relationship? And it's from that you have to make the decisions of how you're going to do it.
Okay. When you mentioned them being loud, would you ever, would you say that that could also be them being happy?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Uh, I'm very loud when I'm happy. I'm happy most of the time, so I guess I'm loud, but very much so.
Okay.
Uh, we, Kashima had said to me a long time ago, do not put your thoughts as a human onto how we should be.
Wow.
So try to let go of your human thoughts of how they're supposed to act. They're not supposed to act just like us. They have their own ways of doing things, and
Mm.
their lung capacity is unbelievable.
Mm.
It can, if they're very close and they holler, it can nearly knock you down
Wow.
because that energy is just so
Wow.
strong. I,
Unbelievable.
I have a
Wow.
very good friend who came and stayed with me for a while. He had so much fun while he was here. And somehow, this has only happened one other time uh, with the man who connected with them and got to see the family, and then the father of the group, owl caller, step out and make the owl call. Well, I call him the owl caller. And my friend Jonathan, who was here,
Mm.
uh, had already had some interaction, and he was sleeping in a tent right outside my cabin. And I was sitting out in an area where we would usually sit, and Jonathan had walked off to get something. When he walked back, he got, oh, maybe, I don't remember, 30 feet maybe from this one area. An owl caller was standing there. And when Jonathan walked over towards that, owl caller did the owl call, and it nearly knocked Jonathan off his feet. He actually
Wow.
ran more toward him when he did that.
Wow.
And it does. It's amazing. Uh, he's the only other one who has ever had owl caller do anything like that, with.
Wow.
Um, he even, uh, I had to take Jonathan back to the airport, and Jonathan was supposed to get up at 4 a.m., and I was in the cabin, and Jonathan was still asleep. An owl caller came right outside the tent and started calling, and it
Wow.
woke him up.
Wow.
I was still asleep in the cabin. We were going to sleep in, basically, is what was going to happen.
Wow.
And owl caller called and woke him up.
Wow.
So,
That's I just listened to an old recording. I looked at it and it's titled Owl Wakes Me Up. Very loud owl. Two hoots, and then as I recorded while I slept, and I heard moving around after the owl. So, wow.
yep.
All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
This is amazing. I'm just listening and taking it in, and so. All right. The next one. Um, do you feel our perception of them influences our experiences? And there's
100% yes.
one a little too far there. Okay.
Yes, yes, and yes. It
Wow.
does.
I really wanted to hear you talk about this.
Our perception uh, of anything uh, is what we believe about something. And we get those beliefs many times from people or things we've heard that they color what our perception of them should be. It doesn't give us a true perception. Uh, if your perception is that they're a scary monster, then your experience is probably going to be along that line. And
Wow.
I've got something that
Wow.
happened years ago. We had a group and we're camping down in the Kamishi Mountains, and there was a young man there, and we had talked off and on during the day, and he wasn't quite sure what they were. And he actually grew up in Washington State, but he wasn't sure, what they were. And he was a little afraid. And, I talked with him about it, and it told me a lot about where he was. And for him to be there when the possibilities that he could have an experience, I tried to help him, the best way I could.
Hmm.
So that night, pretty late, we were all sitting around the campfire, and as I do, sometimes I just get up and walk off in the woods or down the road or whatever. And that evening, I just quietly got up. People were talking, and I walked over towards this road. And the young man said, "Miss Arla, can I go with you?" And I said, "Sure, come on, go with me." So we started walking down this old one lane road, and there were huge pine trees and cedar trees and different things, bushy cedar. And we were walking down the road, and we heard heavy bipedal footsteps
Mm.
there inside the tree line. And so we had walked one place and we had stopped and we were standing there. This guy was very big and he was standing right behind the cedar.
Wow.
And you could literally feel him there.
Mm.
Well, the young man grabbed my arm and uh, he said, are you afraid? And no, I'm not afraid. Are you afraid? And he grabbed my arm with his other hand and he said, yes. And he said, I don't know what he's trying to do to me. And so I tried to talk to him, and it wasn't doing any good to calm him down. And so I said, come on, let's go back to the cabin. So we went back to the cabin. Now, if you took a report from him and from me, I would say got up from the fire, walked down the road. I heard one walking alongside us in the tree line. He stopped behind a big cedar, and we were just standing there. The young man, what his report, and it was his report.
I think I
We were
see that.
walking down the road. I heard him coming. He was huge, and I don't know what he was trying to do to me.
Mm. Wow.
So you've got two things that happened there, my version and his version. Which version is right? Well, both of them
Wow.
are, from
Wow.
my perception and from his perception.
Wow.
So he never did get past being afraid that whole weekend, and that one incident, because he had already said during the day, I don't know what they are, and yes, I'm afraid.
Wow.
He had already said pretty much what an encounter would be. I had hoped that with him being with me, it wouldn't be as hard for him. But I didn't know one was going to walk up that close. I'm just
Yeah.
out walking. But I wasn't able to help him calm down. And I've not seen him or talked to him since then, so I don't know what his idea now is.
What a perspective. That reminds me, have you ever thought of, say, somebody with maybe a loving feeling towards them and someone with a really fearful feeling, if they both get zapped, do you think they would feel something different possibly? Um, from being
Uh,
zapped, as they say, or?
well, being zapped is not a bad thing.
Mm.
Everybody said, oh my gosh, I was zapped.
Mm.
Well, why were you zapped? What was going on? Um, I have never been zapped in a negative way, and I'm actually in a documentary about that called
Really?
On the Wing that was made several years ago.
Okay.
Um, the one thing I've experienced with them and that happens for a reason. It
Okay.
doesn't hurt you if they're doing it where you move or whatever. Uh,
Mm.
and I've heard people say, maybe something was going on around you. Maybe there
Wow.
was, and they did that as a protective measure for you.
Wow.
I
Mm.
can't say they do what they do because they choose to
Wow.
do that. But one of the positive things I'm hearing now about that word zap is people are talking about the love zap
Mm.
that they give you, that feeling of completeness. There's no fear in that time. There's this feeling that washes over you that is unlike any feeling of love that a human would know as a human.
Mm.
And so I really like it when they take these negative words they bring in and then, oh boy, somebody's using a positive here. I like that.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you.
Hmm.
Amazing. Okay. Let's see. Next question. This one is a little bit longer, I think. Um, Let me just make sure you haven't answered this. Someone offered to them while out. Oh yes. So for someone, what's that?
We've kind of touched on this, but not fully.
Okay. In case anyone's listening, for someone interested, do you have any suggestions at some things someone could offer to them while out somewhere, such as perhaps playing music? And I actually, one quick question. Anyone that hasn't heard you speak or whatever, could you tell them about just who
Kashima.
Kashima is?
Okay. Kashima is what is called a teacher.
Okay.
Um, he is an ancient, and he has helped me so much through the years. You know, my grandmother, when I was young, talked about the teachers, and
Wow.
that for some people, they would come and work with them. Uh,
Wow.
and it was funny when I first started talking about Kashima many years ago. Um, I was pretty much blasted for saying I had a teacher and that I
Wow.
had made all that up, and but that was pretty standard for several years ago
I can
with.
imagine.
But so many more
Hmm.
people now have had this happen. They've had one come to them
Yeah.
that becomes kind of a teacher to help you, and not just to learn about them, but to learn about yourself and
Wow.
to
Wow.
share that.
Wow.
They don't come
Hmm.
and teach you for you to keep everything that they've shared. I look at him as a grandfather, and that's
Okay.
what I call him a lot of times is grandfather, because his manner of teaching is very much like a grandfather, and that's what he feels like to me. Uh, and I've had people ask me, well, is this just in another dimension that he comes? No, it's not. The first time he came, he was in flesh and blood and walked up. And I walked
Hmm.
with him many times in the flesh and blood. And
Wow.
the term cloak
Yeah.
that people have addressed now to them when they're there, but they're not there, he has taken me with him in that energy, and I couldn't be seen by what's
Wow.
around me. So
Wow.
all of these things that he has done,
Goosebumps. I just got goosebumps.
it it's for me to share.
Okay.
And sharing that one several years ago, oh boy, they all thought I was crazy anyway. They really jumped on the Arla's lost her mind wagon.
Okay.
So, but that never bothered me. It doesn't bother me for people
Okay.
not to believe me at all. I don't measure myself or what I do by what anybody else says. Um, I measure who I am by myself and who I aspire to be as Arla.
Okay.
But their abilities are abilities that I'm assured that we have as well, and have walked away from them. Uh, so,
I've heard that.
well, now you get to hear my telephone. It's supposed to be off.
That's fine.
That's just pretty funny. And it won't go off. So we'll let it play.
Ah, it's perfect somehow.
Um, so, we just have to, again, uh, come to the realization of who we are. And that's what they can help us do. And what we're able to do. Oh my goodness. It's such an awesome time now where people are realizing
Mm.
And science is even saying, oh, we're
Mm.
not who we thought we were. There's all of these new scientific things that are coming up that are just awesome.
Quantum physics and yeah, I've
Yeah,
heard a little of that.
yeah,
Wow.
it's awesome. Awesome,
Mm.
awesome world.
It's amazing. So I had that one up. If you want to see it again, um, for someone interested, any suggestions on anything to do, perhaps playing music or anything like that,
Okay.
that we could offer to them.
Okay. Yeah, we kind of got off of that one.
Yeah.
Um,
No, that's fine. I loved it.
they go and enjoy yourself.
Enjoy
If you're
yourself.
sitting around the campfire and you're just laughing and having a good time, they're enjoying that too. They do love music. They love the drum. They love the flute. They love all of those things. But it's because we love them and we send that energy out when we're doing that.
Okay.
Some people, if they're going to an area where they know they are, they will take an offering of some kind.
Okay.
And I've seen offerings of everything from a lot of fresh vegetables and fruits to something the person loved themselves.
Wow. I did a little gifting and I talked to my sister and she kept telling me, I'm telling you, bring him oatmeal cream pies. Like, and I was doing my very best not to bring, sugary, which I've also heard people
Yeah,
poke holes in that theory,
yeah.
not to worry about it, but it was like they had a party. And my sister was so happy. It was quite active that night um, for me. I mean, I don't think I even come close to what you've experienced, but just some sounds and wow, that's amazing that you said that.
Well, I used to eat honey buns. I was an honey bun addict. And I would take them with me when I would go camping. And I never gave them honey buns. I never put out a lot of food at all. But I would give them maybe one time I found a piece of flint that I found it and I thought, you know what? I bet I could use that on my striker. And then the more I looked at it, it was so beautiful. I thought, I'm going to take that down there and put it on my gifting rock for them.
Wow, wow.
So, through the years, I have gifted tobacco and cornmeal and other things that I might use or that means something to me. Because when we give a
Mm,
gift, if we give something that has meaning to us, that just makes it all the more, important.
wow.
So,
Okay.
do you
Okay.
have to give them something? No, you don't. You know, um, just be yourself and go with the idea that you're going to have fun. People say all the time, oh, they love kids. If you got kids, you better watch out for your kids.
I,
Well, the reason they love kids is kids have fun. Kids are laughing and joking and carrying on, and they love that. They
just like
love to
us.
watch.
It's like I love to watch baby goats, baby pigs.
Mhm.
You'd be considered weird if you said I like to watch kids too, but just little puppies,
Yep,
kittens.
yep.
You reminded me of a concept I've heard that was it's hard to wrap the mind around, but I can't. I was basically heard that they communicated to someone. That feeling when you can't stop laughing.
Oh,
Uh, we would like it if you were like that all the time, is what I heard.
yeah. There, I was in Hodami, down around Hodami in the Comanche Mountains one time with a friend, and there were two or three moms with babies, young children that were there, back sitting in the tree line watching us. And I said to my friend, I'm going to see if they'll accept me if I come a little closer. I'd already talked to the moms, and they didn't have a problem with us being there. But as I got to a certain point, I just started giggling and laughing, and I couldn't stop
Just out of nowhere?
until I would back away. And then when I would
Wow.
back away, I wouldn't be doing it. And so we
Wow.
were acting so goofy. We were walking up to that point
Getting
and just
closer to them.
doubling over laughing.
Wow.
So it was like there was this laughing energy wall right there. And when we would hit it,
Wow.
we couldn't stop laughing
Wow.
until we walked away. But I know those moms and those babies were having a wonderful time watching us because we just kept going up to it, and then we'd have to go back. We'd laugh so hard
Wow.
to get
Wow.
our breath. So
That's
they
so
love
funny.
that. They love that
Okay.
respectful interaction.
Okay. All right. I have just a couple more. I did tell you an hour. I had another list in case I went too fast, but I also, so I'd love to ask you all, but I respect your time too. So here's the next one. Yeah, it's towards the end, I think. A couple more. Uh, can you talk about love that surpasses all understanding? You did kind of, I think, grace upon it, but I've heard you say that.
Kashima told me about this time, and he called it the knowing. And what he meant by that was actually the understanding.
Wow.
And that was this love, this feeling that, like this one friend of mine says, I got the love zap.
Brian,
And
Brian Bland? Brian
yes,
Bland,
and
yes.
you can get it. And I've had several people that I've been with in different places who were just literally brought to tears because it is such a powerful feeling. In that feeling, there is no
Mhm.
fear, there is no hate, there is no judgment. There is only this total acceptance of this universe on a level that humans don't generally bring themselves to.
Wow.
And as we get into this time of the knowing, understanding what this is, then we feel that
Okay. Wow.
more and more and more.
That's really spiritually aligned with a lot I've looked into with
Mhm.
one of the sort of fruits of the spiritual path and kind of,
Mhm.
as they say, I mean, ultimately getting rid of the small self, the ego, you
Yep.
know. Of course, it's tricky how to word that. People say you don't want to get rid of it, but just, thinking less.
Yeah. Yeah. We, when you're in that space, there is nothing wrong in anything. It is such a complete feeling. And it's in that knowing, being able to call that to ourselves
Mhm.
and to feel that. It's not just, it doesn't just belong to them and them giving it to us or helping us feel that. It belongs to anyone who can become that space. And that
Wow.
is one of the major things that they do try to bring to us is that space where and I have trouble even explaining it. And
Mm.
until you feel it, you can't truly explain it to anyone else. It's definitely something you have got to feel to understand. And you may not be able to put it in words, but there is a part of you that understands that past anything else.
Would you like to hear one little instance where I think I felt that the strongest? It's kind of strange.
I'd love it. I'd love to hear it.
It's definitely, this isn't the type of thing I typically share, but this isn't. Anyways, I played music, and I'm not telepathic. Consciously, I do believe we all have the ability. Maybe intuitive type, but I don't mind speak or anything, at least consciously. But anyways, as I'm playing music, I felt like I was receiving a request for a song, and I couldn't believe it because it's my favorite band. And I'm trying to, is this my own thinking? I don't know, but it was a little different from what I was playing, and so I hit play, and it was Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin. And I took me to my knees, bawling. As soon as I hit play, and I've thought about that, and possible interpretation is, I don't know, maybe happy for the song, maybe happy that he heard us, I don't know, but I'll remember that one for a long time. That was something.
You love that song, is that right?
It's not my favorite, but it's definitely one I love, and from then on I played it all the time. It's got flutes, but it's my favorite band, and I mean, I love it in a way for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But you could even use the name of that as a metaphor.
Stairway to Heaven. Wow.
Or what you felt.
Yes. Whoa.
So,
Whoa.
Yeah. Messages come in all kinds of ways. Sometimes they're not straight on. Sometimes they kind of sneak in around behind us when we start thinking past.
Wow.
I love this, but
wow.
One of the things I've learned about them is so many of the messages that they give us is so multi-layered. It's there is so much to be gained by it.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. Thank you. Are you okay?
Yes, I didn't want to cough, and I did.
I didn't mean. I just time and let me see. I think it's one or two more. I have another list of like 11, but I'm not going to hold you hostage for another hour. Maybe another interview, but
yeah, we can do that.
Let's see. Okay, I think there's probably two more. Two or maybe three. Okay, yes. You definitely graced, however you call it, across this a little here and there.
Yep.
And I've noticed it is something you've in talks just kind of addressed, because it's a big thing out there, fear cells. And if you want to go down law of attraction, would you actually, and you did basically say something I've suspected is, could you, when you expect a monster. So you did kind of cover it. If you want to add anything to that.
I believe that we create our reality. And when we don't understand something, how we've been influenced by that particular subject, whatever it is, then that steps into our creation of this thought. I say all the time that if we humans weren't on this earth, there would be no demons. There wouldn't be any need for demons.
Oh.
We can create them,
okay,
but we can uncreate them.
That is sort of along the lines I've thought too about being fearful, attracting something.
Yeah. You called for that experience. Fear stops you dead in your tracks. You're not going to understand what it is that you're looking at if you're in fear. because you are going to create all kinds of scenarios around that.
A rope is a snake, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's a big thing with fear. And
Big. Okay.
that's very important for me, is to try to help people get past their fears. And the simple truth is they're out there in the woods. They've always been out there in the woods. They're going to always be out there in the woods. They
Mm,
could have been right next to you, and you would have never even known it.
that's amazing.
I have people say all the time, "Oh, I've hunted my entire life. I've been in the woods, but I've never seen anything." Well, they're out there. Just because you didn't see them doesn't mean that they weren't there. There's a lot of things. We might not see a squirrel that's right over there setting, or a rabbit, or anything that's out there. But they're all there. Just because we don't see it doesn't mean it's not there.
Beautiful. So insightful. Thank you. It's so valuable, I feel, and I hope it helps people.
Yep.
And I'm gonna have to say it's got to be one or two left.
Okay.
I think it's one. Haha. Oh, I paused it. It's a surprise. So this is like a whole subject change, but this topic is really big now, and you have a very I don't want to say against the grain, but an outside. And you know what? I was thinking of this. I was thinking of questions driving last night, and I thought how if you were to switch this subject to the one that we're currently talking about, the way a lot of actual Sasquatch people feel about this one is very similar to how Sasquatch has been regarded as those same people. Scary. I think you know where I'm going, but here we go. I didn't even do this on purpose.
Yeah, I knew that was coming. It's been interesting with this Dogman thing,
Mm,
because I'm on Pork and Beans, the show,
yeah.
occasionally, and I help the guys out. Uh, but I really haven't been doing a lot of podcasts or anything since I was in the wreck a few years ago. And
Wow.
because I had kind of backed off, I had to heal, and that took some doing to do. But uh, Connie Willis, who is in Coast to Coast, and I know Connie, I hadn't talked to her in a while. She called me one day and she said, "Hey, you want to be on Coast to Coast?" And I said, "What?" And she said, "Do you want to be on Coast to Coast?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I guess I can." And she said, "I want you to talk about the Dogmen."
Wow.
I was like, "Okay." Well, I have talked some about them, but I have never talked about them at the extent that I have been talking about them. And it's very interesting, too, the timing, because being in my tent now, I'm out there, and there are dogmen here. And one of them is called Rouse. And
Wow.
he had been around my tent a lot. His energy is definitely something that what you're feeling. Now, my bull mastiff, Amy Faye, loves the hairy kids. She doesn't care if they're outside the tent, if she goes to the tent with me at all. It's like no big deal. Now, she'll sit up and watch, kind of like she's looking through the tent where things are going on, but she's not afraid. Well, the first night he came back up around, she was beside herself. She did not understand his energy at all. And it
Mm,
took a good 30 minutes to calm her down.
wow.
And I thought, what's he doing? And then I just thought, well, he's just around. And then Connie called and and you want to talk about the Dogman. And I
Mhm.
was like, oh,
Wow.
so yeah. So I likened it to what I started doing years ago with the Sasquatch people. When I came into this, there was so much fear of them. Oh my goodness. There were people that were afraid they were going to be ate or, dragged out of their tent or their homes. It was really, really
Do you
a
mean with
hard.
sorry, with Sasquatch or
Yes.
yeah,
Yep.
okay. Yep.
You were
Yep.
hearing that. It was really, really bad.
Wow.
And I had people messaging me saying, "Oh, don't go out there. They're evil and they're all of this other stuff." And I just continued to do what it was I knew I was supposed to do. And
Yeah.
that was to only share my experiences. I wasn't trying to prove anything to anybody. I was just going to
Yeah.
share my experiences.
Okay.
Um, and so we've kind of gotten through that. It's not near what it
Right.
used to be like. And
Right.
now here we've got the Dogmen, and they are the masters at pushing fear.
Huh.
Their energy is what I call gut energy. It
Okay.
hits you in the solar plexus and it puts you immediately into that fight or flight.
Wow.
And so here I am now talking about my experiences with the Dogmen, which I've had a lot over the years. They've been pretty much everywhere I've been in the United States, and I spend a lot of time in Kentucky, and there are a lot there. Uh,
Is that the LBL, right? The yeah.
yeah, it's Land Between the Lakes is there, but they're in the Daniel Boone Forest and all over.
Okay.
And I've had several experiences with them there. Now, here in this area, there is Rouse, and Rouse has a daughter who is Weirta. Now,
Wow.
Weirta plays with the Hairy Kids. They're neighbors. They live
Wow.
in the woods.
Wow.
Um, and Rouse is gone part of the time, and when he's back, uh, then he gets to see Weirta. Weirta does not go with him when he goes. She stays here with the Hairy Kids, and I actually
Wow.
have a photo of her. Uh, and so here I am once again talking about something that is trying to help us with our fear.
Whoa.
One of the most wonderful things that I see
Wow.
happening
Wow.
is there are so many people now who are having a relationship with the Dogman people.
Wow.
And that is that's very important. A lot of them are not public with this. Some of them speak in private groups about what's going on.
Wow.
Now, I'm not going to tell anybody go out in the woods and confront a dogman. You know,
Hmm.
you do what it is that you feel led to do. They're definitely going to push your fear because that's the nature of one of their teachings. And the part of that, we have such a long history about them being associated with werewolf and all the other things. So we've got this high level of fear about them.
Wow.
And the truth is, like the Sasquatch, they've always been there.
Mm.
They're it's nothing new for them to be there. They've always been there. It's just bringing us to that time of growing if we are willing to grow. If we're willing to let some of our preconceived ideas of who they are, then we can grow.
Okay. I have to ask you because I can hear people asking. You're not afraid of them?
No,
I
no,
mean, I could tell you're
no.
not, but Had to ask.
No, I'm not afraid that they're going to drag me off or do anything else. I've had close contact with them. In
Wow.
Kentucky, I had a lot of close contact with them.
Wow.
They're they are interdimensional, the same as the Sasquatch people are. And so, you're dealing with something that can be there and then not be there.
Okay. Wow. Well, that's the end of my questions. I really appreciate your time so much. I went a little over an hour, and I took a lot out of this. Um, yeah. So, would you like to anyone that's made it this far mention about your book? Anything you'd like to tell anyone?
I've got two books. I've got My Life with the Hairy People, and it just talks about some of my life, of my early life, and then a lot of the things that have happened with them through part of my life. I
Okay.
have another book called Respecting the Water. That is a story about two of the hairy kids, Indigo and Blue, and their grandfather, and a human grandmother and her granddaughter. And it's a lesson on how we're supposed to respect the water. I'm working on
Okay.
another book. It's going to bring in a lot of the things, the Star Nation people, the Dogmen,
Okay.
the Sasquatch, and many other beings that people call cryptids that are out there, and we have things to learn from them.
Okay.
And you can get the books from me from I have a page on Facebook called Naturally Arla, or
Okay.
you can order them from Amazon, and they're also on Kindle too.
All right. I'll look up the one of the Harry the My Life with the Harry People and put that link below
Okay.
this. And that's really it. I look forward to going back over this and paying attention. And thank you so much. It was just an absolute blessing and honor to speak with you about this. And I just enjoyed having almost sort of a conversation, mostly asking questions and just listening.
Well, I thank you so much for having me on. And, what little we've talked, I've thoroughly enjoyed that as well. Um, all these people like you who are coming forward and helping, we're all planting seeds out there. And whether we know those seeds will ever grow or not, it doesn't negate that we are supposed to be out there sharing those seeds of things that we have had happen with us in our life.
Perfect. Beautiful. Thank you. I guess I will end there and
Thank you.